What is up, people? Welcome to Adobe XD tutorial. Adobe XD. Don't know what happened with my voice there. So today we're going to keep a very simple kind of thing. We're going to be making a an Instagram revamp, perhaps, or some sort of an image sharing software on the iPad. So let's go into the templates. Open up the iPhone X template. Now, this isn't going to be a basic tutorial, so to speak. It's more for someone that already knows how to use the basic functions of Adobe XD. I'll try and go as slow as possible, but obviously there'll be more videos and tutorials in the near future with more of a basic breakdown of everything. But right now I just want to get the creative flowing. So let's kind of go ahead with it. So obviously we've got the iPhone X template. You can set up all your artboards from here, and you've got all these different options. Now, me personally, I do like the Adobe XD. It's fantastic. You get some UI kits as well, whether it's the iOS, Google Materials, or the Windows ones. Now I've actually gone ahead and downloaded the iPhone X one, so just gonna get in there. I'm gonna perhaps maybe start taking the kind of navigation status bar, if you will. Copy and paste that, put that right there, and I'm just gonna align it, chuck it to the top. Great. Maybe move it down a little bit, give it some space. I like that. So next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually go start kind of putting in. So I think we're gonna do, maybe it's like a profile page. Let's start off with something like that. So just gonna go ahead and lay the foundations out. So let's say we're gonna have the user image there. Now perhaps someone may want to do some sort of a search icon. Now before we do that, I know this is kind of me being really messy, but if I double click on the background layer, turn my grids on, and just adjust the actual edges to about 20. I think 20 is nicely about 20 pixels out. So then at least kind of gives me an idea of where my utmost areas will be. So let's go ahead and actually start creating maybe the first icon, which is going to be a what do you call it, a search icon. Keeping it very minimalistic, not putting too much effort into that. Just want to make sure these two bad boys are centered. Apparently they are. Okay, and then I'm just going to select them both. I'm going to increase their line height a bit. I'm going to drop this down a little bit. I think it's too much. Select it, right click it, group those two together, and just rotate it. There we go. So then we've got the search icon. Now for some sort of like maybe a hidden menu type icon, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the circle or the ellipse tool. I just want to make sure. In fact, let me just double click on the background layer and select my layers and just really turn that down. Do you know, I'm just going to turn it down so I just see the outlines. Okay, now where's my circle? Here we go. Get that, get the eyedropper tool, click on that. Now the one good thing about XD is I can just literally click on the plus and boom, I've got my color palette saved. You can actually do that on the styles here as well. For the assets, you can actually save more than one colors, plus their styles, the fonts, a lot of things really. Just going to put that about there. Now in the same time, I'm going to maybe push this up a little bit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get the rectangle again, and we're just going to draw some squares. Now I'm thinking maybe it's going to be like a 3 square system. So if I double click back onto my background, and instead of 4 columns, I'm going to push it down to 3. My gutter width is too much. I want to reduce it to about 5. Perfect. I'm just going to realign everything now. Do that. Just push that over to the edge. Great. And the same thing here. Push it. Awesome. Great. Okay. Now, obviously, I can alt drag and you know, do that sort of thing, but because I want the images to kind of do this clever thing that Adobe XD allows you to do. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to use the repeat grid. Put it there. I've got 3, great, and I'm just going to put it there. I've got a lot more already. Yeah. Okay. So now that's kind of the basics so far. But what we want to do is we want to make sure we still tidy this up a little bit. So we're going to have these maybe perhaps some 3 buttons here. Obviously you've got perhaps maybe we're going to do some sort of a grid view. Turn the border off and make the fill the grey color. Again, I can use the repeat grid. I know it's silly, it's probably a lazy way of doing it, but it's a fantastic tool, and I can stretch this however much I want, and then before you know it, I got a grid view. Awesome. Do one more, but this time it's going to be based around, I'm just going to do maybe a similar size, but this time what we're doing is we're doing the list view. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to copy that, just drag it about 5 pixels away, stretch that out, select both of them, hit the repeat grid and stretch it out, reduce the gap to about 5 till I get 3, and in no time at all I've got the grid toggle and the list toggle. Now once you are happy with the actual the shapes of it, I'm just going to right click on it, I'm going to ungroup grid, right click on it, I'm going to ungroup grid, and I'm just going to size it down a little bit because I think they're a bit too big at the moment. Just make sure they're about the same height. Yes, they are. Stick that back in the middle, stick that let's stick that in the middle of that grid. It's roughly perfect. So then what we're going to do is maybe just kind of push these down a little bit, and then maybe put a splitter line between them. It's just nothing special, just literally one line that goes across them. Now I will probably thinking of having some sort of like a heart for the last one, the last box, so to speak. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to use what do they call it? Font Awesome. That's the one. I'm going to use Font Awesome to do my heart. So I'm going to hit the text tool, Font Awesome, boom. Now obviously I've got the fill heart. If I want, I'm just going to right click the away and hit the border instead of the fill, and I've got the heart as an outline. Yep, perfect. So I'm just going to select these 3, maybe push them down a little bit more, push this down a little bit more. Good. Select all of that, push them further down because we need to have some room for the information. So if we put text toggle there, and we're going to call this James Smith. I mean, the most generic name ever. Just centralize the text. Obviously we want to fill. Now at this stage I'm merely just prototyping, not really focusing on colors at the moment. So that's his tag. Make it a little bit smaller. I think we're going to focus on the colors in a bit. I think what we're going to do first, we're just purely going to just focus on the layout, so to speak. So this is followers. We'll say James has got 125k followers. And by the way, if you're new to the channel and this is the first time you're arriving, do like and subscribe this, and let me know if there's any sort of tutorials or things that you would like for me to do, and I'll be more than happy to put it in the works. Now this is how much James follows. Now James is is a really cool guy. He follows over 600,000 people, and the last one is, I don't know, we're gonna make it as likes, right? So again, we're just gonna give this a 1.5 million. James is balling. There you go, James. Right, okay. So now that we've got all this, what you're going to do, just clean it up a little bit, just maybe align it a little bit good. Yeah, sweet, I'm happy. Okay, so once you've got that, what we're going to do is perhaps maybe start adding some sort of colors and stuff onto that. So I think the first thing we need is find James's photo. Okay, hold on, actually, you know what, I've got an idea. Where is it, James? Bear with me, I've got just thinking. Alright, so if we go Google, okay, so if we've got Google open and put in there James, go to images, who do we have? Now let's take a good profile picture. Now we've got LeBron James. Okay, you know, we're gonna take James Franco. I like James Franco. Alright, let's go James Franco. Alright, good picture of James Franco. Fine, let's go for this one. Boom. It's all black and white. Kind of things are a higher resolution image. Yep. Now obviously this is just me messing about, so by all means I'm not taking copyright in any of this. Purely educational, people. Do use your own images. I can literally from here, this is a really cool thing from Adobe, so I can literally just grab it from here, boom, drag it in. Awesome. Obviously now James's picture doesn't look too good, so let's maybe perhaps find another one. How about this guy? Let's do this one. Do the same thing. Perfect. I do like that image. We'll go for this image. I'm gonna uncheck the border. You know, I think we can do something a little bit better than that. Now in terms of the text, so with this, all the text, I'm just going to select all the text at the moment. I'm just going to use, I don't know, I don't know that font. We'll use Neo Sans, right? Maybe, and then in terms of color, perhaps we'll make this a very kind of dark bluish, not entirely black, but dark bluish. Now good thing about this is if the color, I've actually got the color, so if I click the plus I can save it. So all I need to do is just select all the other ones that I want the same color to be, bam, click on it, I'm good, you know, I'm good. So and for the followers, I don't know, maybe make this a an Instagram type kind of fuchsia color. There we go. Maybe make this a little bit bigger. Perfect. Okay. Now obviously this line's way too light, so I'm just going to turn the opacity down on this bad boy. Awesome. Now with these images, all I'm going to do is I've got some images already that I've downloaded online. I mean, you can use websites like Unsplash. Boom, get some decent images. I'm just going to go ahead and drag them all on there, and that's just literally going to populate it for me. Now what I need to do is obviously just maybe squeeze down the images a little bit so that they have similar height gaps. If I double click on one of them, any changes that I do actually gets done on all of them, which is fantastic. So I do want a little bit of a, perhaps maybe some sort of a shadow, very subtle shadow. Obviously turn the opacity on for the shadow a little bit. Perfect. Okay, I like it so far. So let's go and do these guys as well. Now these guys, again, I want them to be the dark color. Now this is still under repeated grid. Now I've ungrouped them now so that I can change it to any color I want, and same with this guy, but instead it's the border. Perfect. And then, oh no, that's the background. Okay, and then last we've got these ones to change. I'm change these into the black. Oh, select them both, change them to the black color. Perfect. Again, I'm just going to do a little bit more cleanup. So what I want to do is I want to copy James's photo, so I've got two of them. I'll slightly size it down. I'm going to go to the background blur, but instead of background blur I actually do one object blur. Turn the amount down a little bit. push it behind him. But if I click on this little button here, this is my layers button, and I want to push this down further than where the actual circle is. So that's my James Franco photo, the clean version, and this is the blurred. So I just want to put that there. And the reason why I want to do that is I can now give this any color I want. So if I take the dropper tool, select that, you can see I can kind of have a nice effect on James Franco. So I'm just going to use the arrow key for a little while. Perfect. Okay, so once we kind of got the basic, you know what, I don't like this actually. I don't like the line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something else. Let me double click on the layer, get rid of the columns and the guidelines. I'm going to go back into my faded color. I'm going to make a rectangle which stems all the way from here to there. I'm going to push that down just so that it sits below everything else. So this is literally the last thing on, or the first thing, depending on how you look at it. Click on that, take the border off, but I'm going to add a shadow. I'm going to blur the shadow and take it up a little bit. So this just kind of adds this nice soft gradient, almost material-like effect on there, which I quite like. So once I'm done with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the Alt key and I'm going to drag the title so that I have a duplicate of the actual artboard. And what basically I'm doing now is I want to rearrange a few things so that now we focus more entirely on perhaps just one of the images that's being clicked. So I'm just going to literally delete everything except my notification. Let's pick this image. So I'm going to grab the rectangle tool. I'm going to draw an entire canvas out, and then I'm going to drag the image on top of that so that you have the image here. However, I do want to do one thing. I'm going to just kind of crop it from the bottom a little bit, and the reason for this is once I push it further down, a little bit more further down, and kind of centralize it a little bit, I'm going to duplicate, copy and paste it so I've got two of the images. And what I'm going to do after that is I'm just going to slightly again scale it down from purely the width side, and I'm going to put my object blur on there again. And again I'm going to realign it so that the blur sits on the back of it. In fact, I just want the blur perhaps to be at the bottom actually. Push it up a little bit, and with that done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to size everything down a little bit. Actually, you know what, no, I want it to be full screen, so let me go all the way up. Yeah. I'm going to draw another rectangle. This time this is going to be slightly off canvas, and the reason why I want to do this is because this is going to be, let's say, the next image. I'm going to drag the next image on top of that, and again Control C, Control V, so now I have two of the same images. If you see, scale it down a little bit. Just scale it down a little bit, put it above the image, and make sure that the layer is below it. Go to blur, object blur, blur it, but this one not so much, just enough. Make sure that the photo is towards the end so that it doesn't actually bleed off anywhere else. So once you have that, I can easily just duplicate it if I wanted. Where's this blur? Here's the blur. Duplicate it if I wanted. Now with the second blur, I'm actually going to start putting it into a color, and the reason why is so that you can actually tell you've got other images behind that. So then again, I'm going to change this image to, let's say, this forest image, and make it faint a little bit. So essentially what this does is I'm almost kind of suggesting that there's more images for the users to look at, so they can just constantly swipe up if they want to. They can swipe down if they need to. So if they swipe up, boom, the next images kind of show themselves. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to select everything apart from the actual navigation menu at the top, and I'm just going to make sure that that's at the top there. Obviously you can't see it, so I can, I can go ahead and double click on it, select the time, text and everything, and just make it white, but I'm lazy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the iPhone UI, go back in here and just paste the white version. Okay, just kind of make sure everything's aligned. Perfect. Okay. What I also want is I want James's photo. I want James's photo to be. Oh, I want James's photo to be on here when you are looking at it. So I'm going to put his thing there. I'm going to take his name. But then this time his name I'm going to fill it with white. Same with his perhaps his tag. Again, just adjust it there. Put that there, and I'm also going to take the heart. Now I'm holding Alt while I drag these, by the way, just to let you know, so that it's pretty much the same as Photoshop. You can actually just click and drag. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the circle behind this. Just make sure that my heart is above it. That's all. I don't know. Maybe let's change this to one of the colors from the photo. Let's go for this type of pink. Make sure that the heart and the circle are aligned somewhat in the middle of each other. Drag it down. Perfect. Circle perhaps a little bit too big. I'm going to size it down a little bit. Duplicate it and put the object blur on there. Again, not too much. Push it behind the ellipse tool. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Oh. And then push it down. Now, because obviously the colors match too much to each other, I'm going to change it to perhaps a slightly more light color, so you can actually tell that the shadow is behind that. Select all three, group them so I can just move them about easier. I'm just going to leave this here actually. One last thing I'm going to do, just so that you can actually see James's title and everything. I'm going to put a fill, but this time it's going to be a gradient of both, which will be black, but one of them would be faint. Now this is going to go actually just before the actual status bar, but then just after the last image. So you can tell, if I click on that, you can actually tell how much of a difference this makes just by putting that on there. You can kind of get a nice feeling to it. I think that's pretty much good enough. So what we'll do now is we'll actually kind of do a quick connection. So let's say if someone clicks on this photo, obviously it'll go here. I want it to slide to the left. And I want it to easy in and out. In about 0.4 seconds, it's fine. Now, one thing we did forget is we don't have much of a back button. So we can insert that, but what I'm going to do is if someone does click like, it takes them back here, and this time it's going to slide to the right, easy in and out. Now, once I have that, it really is as simple as duplicating the entire layer. If I want more images, for example, and let's say I bring in the other image, and it's as simple as now doing the same thing for this lady here, and making sure she slides to the left. Now with the actual, I'm going to go back into my design tab, with the actual gradient here, black doesn't work so well now. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pick one of the sand dune colors, do the same there, but again one of them would actually be which is how do you say this, one of them will actually be the transparent color, rather than, so you can actually, it's almost like the colors of the image would almost dictate what color the actual buttons would be. So if I make this just a little bit lighter, actually, yeah, lighter's fine. I don't want it too light, and make it down a bit. Perfect, that's fine by me. So we've got back to prototype, we've got that connected, Now this obviously goes back, all the actions have been copied over. So let's hit play. So ultimately then what we'd have is this. If I click on the plus, you'd have her slide in perfectly. Click on the heart, it goes back. Do the same thing for the lady here, goes back. Now actually one thing we can do, just as an added bonus, if we hypothetically, let's say, click on the images here, or these guys here, I want it to slide up to this. So we're going to put a slide up, and vice versa. If someone clicks on this, I want it to slide up to that. Now what that will ultimately do, if I click play again, go back in there, click on this image. Now if I click here, it just slides up. Now obviously, you know, in hypothetical situations, this will actually slide with the images on top of each other, but it looks very cool. So there you have it. I mean, in very quick, simple steps, you can make a very interesting app inside of Adobe XD. Hope you've enjoyed it. Do leave a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. We have more videos coming up very shortly, and well, stay awesome. Thanks.